Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to What Up Clay. This channel talk about all kinds of things like how to fix it, build it, maintain it, as well as product review. In this video here, I'm going to do a project. I'm going to build a what they call a cheater motor for stock racing and RC car racing. So without further ado, let's go learn something. Alright, so first of all, as a disclaimer, I have no desire to race this motor, to even see how it's going to compete. I mean, if I do race it, I'm going to let people know, hey, it is a cheater motor, but I will not put it in any events, and I'm not encouraging this. I'm just letting you guys know, talking out there and hearing a few things about what people are doing to build a cheater motor. You might see somebody over there with a 17.5T motor racing the stock class, and their car is just pulling from you like none other. And you're doing everything you can. You have a $200 motor, certified and tuned and everything else, but you just can't keep up with these guys. So start hearing a few things, what things people are doing. I'm going to build one of my own and see how it compares to a stock motor. What I have here is I have the Trinity Stator 17.5. This is slot machine 2 rotor, or not rotor, but stator. The slot machine, the regular slot machine, as some of you are well known for, or some of you know about, is like this one here. These are no longer allowed to be raced. They're not roar legal. Because some changes that Trinity made to them after they were certified by Rotor. The rotor here that I'm using is a modified rotor, 17.5 rotor. It's a broad power band motor. It's a red. So what they have with the Trinity rotors, a lot of times you go to races, the local tracks, they don't test, or they don't inspect all the vehicles thoroughly. They kind of take your word on it. And why people feel they have to cheat, it's just pretty, I mean, I have no respect for a person out there that's cheating. But the rotors do not have any markings on the back of them, like a black one or a red one or anything like that. Like the Tikans, you look at the back and you'll see a black dot. Well, these don't have black dots on their red dots or yellows or anything like that. So you can't really tell unless you pull the motor out and you get a good look at it to find out what's actually in the rotor. The only way to, with a stator, there's not much you can do to cheat on a stator unless you go in here and you take all the writing off on it and then stamp your own writing on it to make it look like it's a stock motor, or a 17.5 and so on. But anyhow, so the end bells I'm using, these right here, are from a Trinity certified 17.5 motor, the 5% motor. They have the ceramic bearings inside. So I'm going to use this to go on this can. But yeah, let's go ahead and I'll put everything together. I'll read the gauss on this rotor, see how strong it is, and then tune it, and then I'll run it on the Jerry to see how it performs. All right. Before I do all that, some of you might be asking what the differences between the slot machine 2 and the slot machine 1 stator. I do not know exactly what was changed, or if anything was changed. It did have to go back to Rotor to get recertified. Well, they stick a sticker on it. That I don't like because it gets that residue all over it. But by quick glance, The stator. The stator looks really good. It's pretty clean. The wires on it, the windings and stuff. I don't know if you can see that in the video. They're not loose. They're really tight. Pretty tight. So looks clean inside. Now I have a Trinity, the certified motor right here. They look pretty identical. Couldn't tell you what they changed on them. They probably, I mean, it could be they didn't change anything at all. They just went back down, took these back in, and got them recertified. And this could have been what it is. But yeah, everything, even on the inside, everything looks exactly the same. All right, let's take this here and let's start testing things. Okay, first thing we'll do is I'll take a reading of the gauss on this thing. Being a modified motor, I'm expecting it to be pretty high. Okay, let's see. $18.91 on the south side, or $18.96, 97. Let's see what it reads on the other side, on the north side. $18.94, $1900. Wow. $19.01. $19.01, and what was the other one? $18.97. That's a pretty strong magnet right there. All right, let's put it in the machine and put it in the motor and tune it, and put it on the Jerry. Okay, so I have it all here. I have it all together. I have it shimmed. I have it timed. It's a really good looking motor. If you want to know what rotor I'm using, the modified rotor I'm using, it's a TEP 1152. Again, it has a gauss reading of an average about 1895 or something like that. Extremely high gauss. It's really strong magnet. Let's go ahead and run this thing on the tunalizer here. Let's see what this thing runs, what the numbers are without a load on it. And here we go. Okay, timer is at 53.3, amperage is at 6 amps, and the kV 3205. Now when I had this thing up, when I go up one more amp or one more degree, this thing shoots up to about 8 amps, 7.5 to 8 amps, something like that. So it's a big jump. So I have it right there on the edge. 53.3, the end bell timing, everything's really close on there. Let's take a look at the readings. Right there are some of the best readings I've ever seen on a motor. End bell deviation is 0.3, rotor symmetry is 0.8, Hall signal deviation is 0.8, and it's 82 degrees. And in my office right now, it's about 70 degrees in my office. So, all right. Let's go ahead and run this thing on the Jerry. put in our load, but you know what, before we do that, let's see what the RPM is that we're getting on this. RPM is about 24,299 is what it went up to. Now it's about 23,000 mounts back for. So I'll put it at 24,000 RPMs. 24,000 RPMs on that. So, which isn't the highest I've seen unloaded, but we've already seen that the higher the RPM on the motor doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the fastest, because they usually don't have a whole lot of torque. So let's go ahead and put this thing on the Jerry. I'll put the slave motor in there, which is the Fat Boy V6. That's Surpass. And then we'll go ahead and do the gearing. As always, we'll start with the 27 tooth, go all the way up to the 30 tooth, and then 32 tooth, and then slap on the 41 tooth right here. So, all right, let's start off with the 27 tooth. All right, we'll start off with the 27 tooth. Get my timer set up here. We'll run it for the 20 seconds. And okay, everything's hooked up. Fire in the hole. Okay, so we got 19,630 on that RPM. Let's go ahead and bump up to 28. Okay, I have the 28 tooth in there now. In case you're wondering, the temperature, I forgot to take it while the film was rolling. It was 97 degrees. So, 27 tooth. Oh no, it's a 28 tooth. 28 tooth pinion. Okay, temperature, about 101. Okay, now 29 tooth. Okay, 29 tooth is loaded. Let's go ahead and start the clock. Okay, time for the 30 tooth. Oh, after I take the temperature. About 105. Okay, 30 tooth. 30 tooth is now loaded on. Let's go ahead and get everything set up and start it. And the temperature is, whoops, changed on me. There you go. 110. Okay, and up next is the 31 tooth. All right, time for the 31 tooth. Okay, temperature, (114°). Starting to get a little hot up in there. Okay, now we're going on to the 32 tooth. Okay, I have the 32 tooth on there. Let's go ahead and get the everything tight. Go ahead and start the timer. Okay. (117 on the temperature). Okay, now let's put on the 41 tooth. So now the gear we all been waiting for. We got the 41 tooth on there. Gonna run for 20 seconds. And let me get the timer going here. Okay, I'll go and put all the numbers onto the spreadsheet, and then I'll share the spreadsheet with you. We'll go over the numbers, and then give you my final thoughts on it. All right, here are the numbers. And before I go over the numbers, I have to give my disclaimer, and that disclaimer is all the numbers that I'm going over right now and the description I give the numbers, they're strictly my opinion, my personal opinion. That being said, I know that there's tens of thousands of racers out there, so there's going to be tens of thousands of different opinions on what these numbers mean. If your numbers, if your description or calculations are different than mine, by all means, slap them down there in the comments section. Share your knowledge with us. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to know what we're missing, if we're missing anything. Now, this right here, if you remember, this is the stator that I use, the slot machine 2. The rotor I'm using is a modified rotor. That's the part number for it, and it has an 1899 Gauss. It's a 12.5 by 24.2, which is a little bit smaller than the stock one that came with it, which is 25.5. Now I have these motors here to compare it with. I have another cheater motor right here, which is the slot machine 1 with the double down rotor in it. Has a 1993 Gauss. This right here is a 1899 Gauss. About 100 Gauss difference here. Now the well, I'm sorry, about 1,000. About 1,000 Gauss different. No, 100. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. 100 Gauss difference. Now the Other motors I put on here are the Surpass V6, the Fat Boy, and then the Trinity Slot Machine 1, the certified one. I put these two on here because overall these two had the highest, or I should say the best numbers overall out of all the motors I've tested. So that's why I put them on here to compare against the modified motors. So the red states that this was the best numbers in this category. For example, the V6 had an amp draw with a 41 tooth and an amp draw of 15.56, which was the lowest amp draw out of all these motors. Now the slot machine with the double down rotor had a 15.66. If you look, that's only 0.1 amp off. I mean, that's pretty darn good. However, the RPM 27,283 versus 27,442. But it also had the slot machine certified had the biggest jump in RPMs at 5,000, and then the least jump in amperage is 3.42, and then the least drop in kV of 132. So that's showing that this one right here, the slot machine with the double down rotor, has a lot more torque, a lot more power, because it was able to carry the RPM and increase a lot more than the others. I still have at least amp draw. Then again, this right here, the V6 there's only an amp draw increase of 3.52. Now the modified motors, the ones that are not legal, if you see this one right here, the Slot Machine 2 has the highest RPM by almost 100 RPMs. The next one would be the Trinity Slot Machine. I mean the Slot Machine certified at 27,521. So there's almost 100 RPM difference, which it's actually substantial. I mean, that's 100 rotations in 1 minute versus the other ones. This motor right here will pull away substantially. But look at the amp draw. The amp draw is a half amp more than this one. If you were to gear this up a little bit more and gear them up a little bit more here, what's going to be the amp draw then? I mean, how much hotter is it going to get? There's a 2-degree difference in heat. Now, if you look at the slot machine with the double down rotor, this one right here shows that you can definitely go up another 2 teeth. If you go up another 2 teeth, you're up over 28,000 RPMs on this one. And you'll be have about the same amp draw as this, as a 1706. So overall, what this is showing is the difference of using a stronger Gauss rotor in a stock motor. You'll see the difference in heat. You see the difference in the amp draw, and so on. If you look at the 32 tooth, the amp draws are pretty darn close. The Slot Machine 2 with the modified rotor has the highest RPM at 23,000 RPMs, and the amp draw is right there with the rest of them. 12.5, 12.24, 12.64, 12.04. It's right there with them. The heat, 117, 119, 116, 150, it's right there. So these are the numbers, these how they compare. If you have any questions on them, put it down there in the comment section. Again, this is just to show you some of the things that people are doing out there to cheat, because rotors, you can swap out rotors and nobody even know the difference. So let's go over now, and I'll point a few things out on the motor and what some things that people are doing, and explain it, the cheater motor, a little bit better. All right. Okay, so you saw my numbers, and what it boils down to is, depending on the track that you're on, determines what size rotor you will put in your motor. This right here is a slot machine certified stator. Now, other things that people are doing to cheat, they're rewinding their motors. They take it and they put new windings on it. They desolder these. They use the outer thing and they rewind it. I mean, there are some out there that do that. If you are a cheater, I mean, I have no respect for you. I mean, it's just cowardice that you're doing. The motors the rotors that you put in here, the stronger the magnet, the more torque you're going to get. Also, the more heat that's going to generate when your motor turns, and the more current it's going to draw. So you have to find an equal balance of the track that you're on. If it's going to be a high-speed track where it's going to be a lot of full throttle action, you're going to want a high RPM motor, which means you're going to want a rotor that's not as strong, and then vice versa. If you have another track that's short, there's going to be a lot of jumps, a lot of corners, a lot of turns, high traction, stuff like that. You want a high torque motor. You want a powerful rotor, one with a higher gauss. So yeah, these are just some of the things that people are doing to cheat. You know, the biggest one is they swap out motors. They swap out the rotors. Now, if you look at the rotors, the only way to tell what rotor you have is without, you know, you look inside, you can see the colors, but I mean, it's nothing to dye the end of these a different color. You have brands like Tekin. They'll put a red, or they'll change the color of the center of the rotor right there. They'll put like a black or a red or a green or what have you inside the end of inside the tip. That lets you know which rotor's in it. Again, I mean, you can just go get yourself some paint and just put a little paint in there and change the color of it. These ones here, majority of the rotors out there, they will have the model number etched right here on the flat part of the shank where the set screw goes in with the pinion gear. They'll have the part number there. But other than that, there's really no way to tell the difference of what rotor is. And everybody knows that shops out there, you know, local tracks, what have you, they don't check motors. They just don't do it. So there's a lot of cheating. So if you're out there running one of the top motors out, and you have somebody just pulling on you, you can't keep up, you go on the straightaway and they're just pulling from you with no problem. And then you go off the jumps, they're taking the jumps, they're launching it, you know, and pulling out of the corner strong. It's a cheater motor. I mean, there's no question about it. If you have one of the top rated motors, especially if they're saying, oh, well, I have the Surpass V6 motor in mine, but yet they're pulling from you like none other, they're cheating. There's no question about it. But so anyhow, that's what happens when you change the rotors out on a motor. High RPM, more current draw, so on and so forth. And I'll show you the benefits. Now, if you remember, to make a motor legal, you have to have a rotor that is certified for the motor. So it's a good idea to have a motor from a company that has multiple rotors designed or with different weights, different gauss strengths. So you can swap out the rotors depending on what track you're on. But you have other motors out there, you know, like, let's say Surpass. It's one of the strongest motors out there. They don't have multiple rotors for these that are approved for these for Rotor. Only one rotor's good for it. So you would therefore have multiple motors for different tracks, which can get expensive. But with the Surpass motors, I mean, you can find it for 85 bucks. So compared to like a Trinity, these are $100. And if you go with a Helix or a Hobby Wing or Tekin or something, you're up there close to $130 for a motor. Then you want to look at something that has different rotors that you can swap them in and out and try them out. As a kick, the V6. Now, as I mentioned before, a lot of the rotors are interchangeable with different brand motors, such as Trinity and Surpass. You can interchange the rotors. If you take a look what rotor I have in here, I don't know if you can see that. That's the TEP 1149. This is the rotor that came out of the double down. It has a 1993 Gauss compared to the 1765 that the factory one has. I ran this motor with the 41 tooth pinion. It had an RPM of 27,000 RPMs, which you're probably saying, well, that's pretty low, because the other ones were putting out 27,600 and so on. But the amperage that this thing was drawing was 15 amps. It was 15.1 amps. It got to 114 degrees when I ran this thing multiple times to try to get this thing to heat up. It went up to 115 degrees, 113 degrees. So keep an eye on people doing that, putting the Trinity rotors inside their Surpass motors. I mean, this thing right here, I could probably bump this thing up when it was running with 15.2 amps. I can put at least 2 gears on it, 2 teeth on that pinion gear, and that sucker would just rip, and it would still stay cool. Anyhow, that's what I have for now. I'm sure there'll be other things popping up out there, something I forgot to mention, what have you. If you have any questions, put it down there in the comments section. I'd love to hear it. If you have different opinions on things, like I said, I'd love to hear your opinion, guys. I really want to hear your opinions on what the numbers mean and so on. But if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe. If you didn't like the video, hit the like button, subscribe anyway, so you can make fun of all my other videos. All right, everybody, you take care.